Good morning and welcome to Great Day Houston. As just about everyone knows, that major winter storm is moving across the country right now. We could see freezing temperatures by late Saturday, early Sunday. While ERCOT is confident the power grid will hold, a lot of people are wondering, will our outdoor plants be able to hold on? Our guests today say that depends on a number of things. We can't stop Mother Nature, but we might be able to mitigate the impact. Joining us with gardening advice and landscape architect Peter Nelson with Nelson Nursery and Water Gardens, and Sherri Harrah with plants for all seasons, including the season of winter, right?
Yes, all of the seasons.
All right. Before we dive on into this, or dig into this, I should say, I just want to remind people of your background. And Peter, you grew up in a family business that dealt all with gardening.
Plants, water plants. My parents, are specialists in water gardening.
Yeah.
So I grew up playing in ponds and sitting on big lilies and getting dirty, and I've been playing in the dirt ever since.
Yeah, in fact, yeah, as a grown up too, because you're a landscape architect.
Yep.
And this is the time of year, well, actually all times of year, especially in Houston, you're dealing with people's gardens. But this is the time of year where people freak out because they spent money on making these beautiful gardens, and then Mother Nature could wipe it out.
Yes, we're both of us are dealing with, customers calling us, what do we do?
Yeah.
And we've had a lot of beautiful projects, and that's an investment.
Yeah.
What do we do to protect this stuff? So we really want to get into that today, how to protect your house itself in terms of the plumbing and the water aspects of irrigation, and then how to protect the plants
itself. And then we say pets, and not that fish are necessarily pets, they're kind of in that gray area, but also when you have these water ponds, you have fish as well. All right, Sherri, you're all about the dirt. Which is the foundation.
I am
to
a soil nerd.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh yeah, so I grew up in my family business as well, and made it my career about 30 years ago. And my sister and I started another company called Dirty Dirt Soil Company. It's right down there, the potting soil. So yeah, I am a soil connoisseur.
Yeah, and such a gardening enthusiast that you actually named your kids.
Yeah, Lily and Jasmine.
Lily and Jasmine. But because you do soil, we've asked you this before, we thought maybe you should have two more kids, like Petey and Sandy or something.
Right, well, if I would have kept going, maybe.
Yeah. Instead of Ross, we'd have had Moss.
Yeah.
All right. All this depends on the weather factors, because it's just to say cold or not, freezing or not, there's a little bit more to it, like hard freeze, sustained, all those types of things. Is it wet? Is it dry?
So we're definitely concerned about, is it going to get above freezing on Sunday? So, if it dips below freezing for a couple hours, some plants get burned, your lantanas get burned. When we get below freezing for 36 hours plus, that's when some real damage can happen. So we want to, that'll be a big thing. We have no control over it. So we're telling people, if you can do it, cover it.
Yeah, or bring in the sensitive plants if you can. And some of those sensitive plants might be your cactus, because what do they have in them? A lot of water, right?
Yes, you don't want those freezing solid. And you want to bring in citrus if possible.
I brought in my agaves right there.
Yeah, anything that you can bring in.
Yeah, but that's a fight right there, because they hurt. Put on your long gardening gloves, because they hurt. They were fighting me.
It's
I'm
like,
how about I leave you out here? How about
they
that?
sure are beautiful, though.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you. Yeah. So bring in the potted ones if you can. Cover the in-ground plants, as you mentioned. What's important is what you're covering them with.
Correct. When all else fails, if you got a piece of plastic or a sheet, do it. But frost cloth really is designed to protect the plants, because it breathes.
Yeah. Right.
So it lets the air transfer through. I was actually talking to a customer in Katy. I said, if a little bit of ice got on top of this, I feel like it could almost insulate some stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So it can almost make like a little
you
igloo.
can use a bed sheet if you need to, but this cloth is designed for that. But what a lot of people are tempted to do as well is get those big plastic rolls and put them over their plants.
Right. Which can be issues, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to insulate any heat necessarily. And then if we get real sunny the next day, you've got to remove it off, because it will make a greenhouse effect and kind of bake your plants.
Yeah. Another thing that you can do to help, speaking of insulation, is kind of counterintuitive in people's minds.
Right.
You say water the ground.
Water the ground, because you want to insulate the roots. If ice freezes at 32, so that won't get any colder than that. If you water, and it moisturizes the leaves of the plants, and dry freeze is worse than a wet freeze. So Mother Nature's going to take care of the watering for us.
And this is where good mulch can help as well.
Absolutely. It's all about soil health and microbial activity. If you have healthy soil microbes, it warms the soil. Mulch provides that.
All right. What about shutting off the water? A lot of us forget to do that.
And it can be an expensive mistake. And I brought, this is called a backflow preventer. And what this does is when you run your irrigation, it prevents irrigation water from going back in your house. So it's very important. A lot of new homes getting built in Houston, people have irrigation. You need to winterize this. This thing costs like $175. That's just the apparatus.
Yeah, but the damage that can be caused if something goes wrong will be a lot more than 175.
Exactly. So what we recommend people to do is, this is how it should look normally. You want to turn this valve off. This is water's coming from the ground to this point. And then you take a flathead screwdriver, and if you turn these small brass screws here, water will actually come shooting the water that's in this apparatus.
Okay.
So it drains that.
So it drains it, prevents it from freezing.
Okay.
We're getting some people saying, hey, Peter, I have another valve at the bottom of this. Some people have another valve here or here. That's what they call an isolation valve.
Okay.
In that case, you would turn this off. That prevents any water from going there. And then in that case, you can actually leave this open and leave both of those open. And that really protects this.
All right.
Last thing, they sell these bags, Deborah, this
Oh, that just goes on top of
unzips
that?
and slides over, and that's going to buy you 4 or 5 degrees of insulation.
Okay, and then of course we own all the insulation on the pipes that are exposed, right?
You put that, and that buys you another 4 or 5. You know, if we get to 17 degrees, we're going to need more than just, insulation. We need to turn water off.
All right, what about the situations with we can hear the beautiful sound of the running fountains, and we'll talk more about fountains in a little bit because you all sell those as well. So what do we do? Do we shut that off and get the water out, or leave the water there and let it freeze?
So if you have a freestanding fountain, we've got the 2 here that are making great noise. Best thing on those, unplug them.
Okay.
Now you see I brought that little pot over there with the pebbles on it? We call those disappearing fountains, and in those situations, water's filling up the pot and overflowing. If it got really, really cold, that pot could freeze and break.
Oh, okay.
So we tell people in that case to pull the, unplug it, and if you pull this standpipe out, all the water drains out. Your pot's protected.
Okay. Now, what if you have the fountain that has fish in it? You can't drain that unless,
Correct.
what do we do with them?
A lot of variables obviously call us for clarification, but if you have a pond with fish in it that has a submersible pump, the pump's down in the water, if you unplug that pump, the water at the bottom will stay warmer.
Oh.
And the fish will just go sit up there. I think you had that experience.
Yeah. Well, no, we thought for sure because we were trying to capture all of our goldfish, and I put them in a bowl in the house, right? But those fish that we had were not ones that you can put in a little bowl.
Yes.
But we were shocked in the spring. We kept hearing the slapping around, and I looked in there and went, they survived.
Because you had ice for like a week, right?
Yeah, we did. That was that ice storm that we had, that really bad one a few years ago. But yeah, they actually survived.
Yeah, so
in
they
there.
go sit on the bottom. You just forget about them. They'll be fine.
Yeah.
And when it warms up, they'll come back up.
All right. Up next.